FM News Talk 97.1. On-demand audio.
Hey, enough of that. Let me get back to the issue we were talking about in the first segment. I'm bringing on board here Kristina Twitty from Alliance for Life Advocates, formerly of the great state of Missouri, now lives in the great state of Georgia. Kristina, good evening. Welcome to the Tim Jones Show.
Hi, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you. We segue a lot here, as you can tell. You know, we got to cover all the topics in 2 hours. So, you know, it's hard to do what we cram it all in. Kristina, tell me, so I don't know if you listened to the first segment. The Missouri legislature is going back into special session to deal with this abortion sanctuary city issue. And I'm going to have you comment on that. But first of all, tell me your exciting news, a big announcement that you just made in the last few weeks about your new venture, Alliance for Life Advocates.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I have to say I'm thrilled for you having your station being part of your very beginnings in the last couple of weeks. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think it's a very well fit for you, knowing your history. Thanks for letting me talk a little bit about this because it's been a passion of my heart for a very long time, the life issue just in general. And Alliance of Life Advocates was formed to help create better coordination of services as well as direct help for girls who may not need a pregnancy center, might need an adoption agency, might need perinatal hospice. Maybe it's not an unplanned pregnancy. Maybe it's just a diagnosis. And most of the time, physicians are encouraging early termination for those kinds of things, and rarely do laws cover a requirement to give further information about what it might look like to carry a baby to term. And all of that I've kind of learned more specifically in the last few years. I moved back to Georgia, which is where I was born and where I mostly grew up, and started working with a pro-life organization on the legislative side of things. But with my heart always being in education and in church involvement and that kind of thing, I started seeing some really big gaps in the way that we handle some of the practical application of this. So the purpose and point of ALA is to not only work within the political realm of influencers, but to also equip each person that has their own sphere of influence to know what's available, know where people can go to get help, and have a little bit of a basic knowledge on things that you wouldn't think about if you haven't been in the situation. If you haven't had a prenatal diagnosis, you would never think about perinatal hospice. If you haven't experienced an unplanned pregnancy, you're not typically looking for a pregnancy support center or an adoption agency. And having had a chance to work with so many of those groups over the years, it's been a perfect fit for me, not only being kind of exposed back to other states that I've worked in, but also being able to keep a watch on what's going on nationally and apply those to, starting off here in Atlanta.
Speaking to Kristina Twitty of the newly formed Alliance of Life Advocates, ALA for short. Kristina, it sounds unlike the organization on the other side of the political spectrum that comes at this from a whole different point of view. It sounds like what you're talking about truly is an organization that looks at comprehensive options for women's health care, not only for the woman, but for the child as well.
Absolutely. It's pretty easy to have conversations about choice, but when you have those in a political atmosphere like I have for so many years, choice tends to mean one choice and not anything else. I got to have a conversation like that with a gentleman who actually works out of the same space I do in Midtown Atlanta, who got a little bit huffy toward the end of the conversation. He just thought it was a noble thing to be about a choice. And when I said, I absolutely agree, I end up talking with lots of people about choices. But I also hear from girls who have been through an abortion that they did so feeling like they didn't have a choice. And my goal is to kind of flip that coin a little bit with people, have conversations in unexpected places so that they can really think about what choice means, not only for the child, for the mother, and for the dad, who we don't talk about a lot, and they've been mostly silenced by women screaming in the direction of, it's not your body, you don't get a say. However, there wouldn't be a baby if there weren't for that dad. And some of what I do just on a personal level is encourage my friends who have come to me, whether they're in their 30s telling me about an abortion that took children from them, or if they're in their 60s. And it's the same brokenheartedness, no matter how old they are, when they finally tell somebody that they lost a child to abortion. I even met a pastor, an AME church pastor here in Atlanta, the other night who kind of set some guys straight I was talking with, and I hadn't even really responded to well, it shouldn't be a guy saying anything about it. He happened to walk back in there and answer that directly because his girlfriend had aborted his child, and he never got a say. And now he's pastoring.
Yeah.
So there's that whole network of people. There's so many things that are available, whether it's post-abortion counseling or it's, get you ahead of time. Even now with the abortion pill reversal, there's so many options for girls who made one choice and regret it the second they step in that direction. And that's part of what we're involved in, too.
Kristina, I got to wrap up here in a couple minutes, but I did want to ask you about what Representative Kelly was talking about in that first segment, this crazy ordinance that the city of St. Louis passed just a few months ago that Governor Greitens felt was an emergency level enough. Have you seen you've been involved in multi-state activities, and I know you're national in scope, and you monitor this from sea to shining sea. Have you seen anything like this anywhere else in the country?
No, really, I haven't. The only thing that even comes close is a lot of the discussions around the Affordable Care Act and the requirement of coverage for birth control. And that seems to be kind of the new playbook at a national level. You obviously have a very different scope and persuasion in the political atmosphere now and the laws that are applied across the board. And it's been kind of a movement in the last few years as that kind of thing starts to happen, that you go back to a local level, you go back to the state, obviously with St. Louis going back to the city, to pass ordinances like this on no basis, no cases. Even the alderman who introduced it said that it wasn't sparked by anything specific. At least that's how the Post is reporting it. So to stir the pot at a local level and try to rally people at a local level when you know you can't get national legislation passed that continues to ignore these deep issues and protecting our children and the women who carry them, it's going to be something you'll see, I think, more often.
Oh my, yeah, probably so, and we've seen it in other subject matters as well. Kristina, I think I've told you offline. We were talking earlier this week, and it's already headed to the courts. No surprise, the Archdiocese of St. Louis has already filed suit along with another private individual. So that's here it goes. Hey, Absolutely. Kristina, as we wrap up here, how can folks find out more about you, the work you're doing, the organization you've just created that I know you're hoping to take to a multi-state level and beyond?
Absolutely. Well, we're on Twitter and Facebook. That's the most active right now. About midweek, Alliance Life Advocates, plural.com will be up and live. So both of those places can be good. We're headquartering in Atlanta, but it's mainly because I'm here, and this is where the most recent experience is. When I got my bioethics degree in St. Louis, working out there for the congressman, it was the perfect match for what I do now, what I've always done, and where my heart is to make things truly available and make a difference on an individual level. So AllianceLifeAdvocates.com is where you'll find me. Facebook and Twitter is pretty easily found as that as well. And I just, for the sake of saying, because I have worked with a lot of you, when I worked for the congressman and a lot of Missouri legislators, thrilling to hear your previous guest.
Yes.
Even though I haven't gotten to meet her personally,
yes.
Still, but she's there. But
she's great. Yes.
It is a ridiculous mischaracterization for the city ordinance to suggest that they're protecting women from state legislators who might not otherwise do so.
Well stated. Kristina, you're an expert on this issue and so many others, so much so that I hope I can bring you back on sometime again in the near future, and I want to thank you for all of your time on a Sunday evening.
Would love to. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Kristina. Have a great night. That's Kristina Twitty, Alliance of Life Advocates. We'll have her on again soon. ALA. Tim Jones here on The Tim Jones Show. Happy Sunday. Happy weekend. We've got lots more ahead, including Media Malpractice. Brought to you by Donna Brazil. Keep it right here at FM News Talk 97.1.